Every year, people ask the question, is this the last E3? Is E3 gonna die this year? The question intensified last year as EA and Activision pulled out of E3 to make their own events. This year, the focus moved away from that question to the fact that they're opening up for the public. So obviously, we decided to bring the conversation back ourselves. My name is Globku and we'll try to answer the following questions today. When is E3 going to end? And how does that impact us as gamers? The first question needs a little bit of clarification. When is E3 going to end? To answer that, first we need to go over what does E3 mean. We can talk about E3 the event, or E3 the time of year where the companies come together to showcase the video games they're working on. The simple answer would be E3 is over as soon as Sony and Microsoft pull out of the event. The event might go on, but there's not going to be any public interest in it. No one's going to care about E3 at that point. But if they did pull out, these companies would probably host their own events somewhere else at around the same time. So technically, E3 would live on. That is the E3 that we designate as the time window. Even if the event is gone, I don't think this spectacle is going anywhere anytime soon. When EA and Activision pulled out of E3 last year, it wasn't because they didn't have anything to say. They didn't pull out of E3 and sit quietly in their offices working on their games in development. No, they hosted their own events at the same time as E3. And you wanna know why? Because this is a time when everyone is eager for information. Gamers around the world want to know what's coming next. They want to know what they're going to be playing later that year, the following year, or sometimes even 10 years in the future. And all of this interest is amazing for these companies. They can sell more games if they capitalize on the public's enthusiasm. They can push as many sales as possible for the upcoming holiday season. And they can get people excited about their brand. And to do this, they spend an absurd amount of money on these big spectacles and booths, only to make their money back once the game starts selling. And that's the way it's been for years. But what if, instead of spending that money on the event called E3, they could sell tickets to their own event to the fans that are excited to play this stuff before it comes out, and maybe sell some merchandise as well. Then E3 doesn't have to be about spending all the money to promote games. E3 can become an opportunity, just like the opportunity EA and Activision saw last year, and that EA is repeating once again this year. Activision went back to E3 because, as it turns out, they don't have much going for them. Not enough to justify a whole event, at least. But yeah, I guess overall, we could say that even if Microsoft and Sony pull out of E3, E3 won't be gone. Not a lot of people are gonna care about the actual E3 event, because none of the big companies are there anymore. But gamers around the world will still be excited for the E3 time, because there's a high chance that all these companies will hold their own separate events, and they'll live stream them out for us as usual. Which leads me to the next question. If E3, the event, ends, does it matter? For us as gamers, how will this impact us? And the answer is, not in a big way actually. First of all, the information will still reach us. The new games, the new consoles and accessories, we'll learn about all of it in the same way that we always have before, through the internet. The fact that these companies aren't in the same place is irrelevant to those people watching on the other side of the screen. The only difference is, we'll see how the developers want us to see their product. Traditionally, games media would be the ones bringing us this information. They would put their games on their hands or watch presentations and give you their thoughts on the game so far. These could be good thoughts or bad thoughts, but with this move, it's the publishers who control the narrative. So their games will always be portrayed in a positive light. However, in recent years, traditional media has lost a lot of relevance in favor of YouTube influencers or just straight out trailers and gameplay demos brought to you by the publishers themselves. And most of these influencers are just spouting lies anyway. They're just hyped for the games because they want to build a good relationship with whatever publisher they're working with. So for the vast majority of people, the way they experience E3 will actually be the same. And then there's always the issue of E3 being only for the big guys. If you're an indie developer and you're at E3 on the show floor, some games media might come over, try out your game and give you some decent coverage. But if there's no show floor for the indies, then their presence disappears from E3, unless they're a part of Microsoft's or Sony's lineup for that year. But if we look at present day E3, that's kind of the case right now. Shows like PAX have surfaced, which give those smaller developers a bigger chance to shine, as E3 moves more and more towards the mainstream, the AAA industry. So even then, not much is gonna change for us. If E3 were to truly end, it would suck for traditional games media who try to cover everything, as they'll need to split their staff between these different events, and some companies just don't have the size for it. And it would also suck for the ESA, who's been organizing E3 for all these years, because they won't get all their money. Instead, that money would go towards all the different publishers, and overall, I think that only benefits video games. So all in all, E3 will always be here. Even if the event doesn't actually exist anymore, this is an awesome time for developers and publishers. A time where the industry comes together, and everyone shows us the best they've got. Whether the E3 event exists or not, it's of little importance. So let's stop worrying so much about when it's going to die. My name's Globku. Thank you very much for watching. Bye!